Hello and welcome back to another episode of Land Rover Restorations. Hopefully, well it will be this time, the volume will be working. Last time there's an annoying wire that goes from the microphone back behind the camera. I accidentally pulled it out, didn't realise, filmed all that footage, but we still uploaded it because at least you can see what we were doing. We put the clutch and the gearbox in last time as you saw, and now this episode is going to be about the brakes, so it probably won't be that long. But I'll show you how the brakes work. So we're starting with a transmission brake. All Defenders and Series and things like that have all got transmission brakes. I'm not sure if all Land Rovers have got transmission brakes. It's quite a good idea. On the back of the gearbox transfer box, there's basically a brake that brakes the prop shaft. So when you put your, or brakes the transmissions, when you put your handbrake on, that's it. That's your brake sorted. It doesn't affect it doesn't work off the wheels like most other cars. So yeah, Defenders and Series and all the rest of it's definitely got transmission brakes, and more modern stuff's probably, in fact it has our Discovery 3, the handbrakes are in the actual, on the rear wheels. But anyway, I'll show you, we're talking about this one, so I'll show you the transmission brake, how it works on here, and then we get it in place, and then I'll show you how to make up some brake hoses, or show you making the brake hoses for this one, and how we're going to get them in place. So yeah, we'll start with transmission brake, so we'll have a look at this. So let's go over here first. On the back of the gearbox is the output drive there, that obviously the flange will go on and then the prop shaft will go back to the rear axle. That's a gearbox we put in the other day. I literally just painted this brake reservoir yesterday with some epoxy mastic. It's all original, all Girling, cleaned it all up and painted it black, put that back in place. So back to this. On here goes a back plate like you have on your wheels. Back plate goes on there. Then your brake shoes, then your drum, and then your prop shaft, basically your flange goes on there. So here is the back plate. There's your drum, painted up with epoxy match. That bit's blue-grey because that's the last bit of blue-grey on the gearbox. And here is your mechanism. So I've cleaned all this up and painted it. Basically, when you pull the handbrake, as you can see, that you pull that bit. So by operating the handbrake, it yanks that back, and then them two go out and put your brake shoes on. Simple as that. There's just basically there's a couple of little wheels in there, and as this pulls back, it just pushes that out. Real simple. I've taken it apart, cleaned it, put some copper grease in it, so that all works now nicely. And on the bottom goes this one, and basically in either side go these, which go on your brake shoes, and then this screws in here, and the shape of that up against there adjusts your shoes out. So you wind, all you'll see when this is in, you'll see that that sticking out the back of the plate. You wind that up to adjust the shoes to nearly biting, and then just crack it off a bit, and that's how you adjust your handbrake. It'll be a bit easier to explain when it's on there. I've had to get new linings for the brake shoes because they don't actually sell brake shoes anymore, so I've got new linings. These are just soaking, getting cleaned. Clean all these up. As soon as the linings turn up, take these off, rivet the new linings on. I'll show you how we do that. And then we'll put it all back on the vehicle. So what I'll do next is I'll put these bits here back onto the back plate, and then I'll bolt the back plate back onto the vehicle, and then I'll show you how we set it all up after that. Okay, as you can see, that plate's now bolted on. I don't know if you can see that actually, but that's the back plate. Brake shoes sit on this side and that side. That's the adjuster that side, and that's the operating lever that side. So it comes around here, and there it is. So when your handbrake's all up mounted, handbrake mounts on there, it'll go down, it pull that up, which then in turn squidges these two apart, applies your handbrake, happy days, put the drum on, all good. So I'm waiting for my brake linings for that, so I thought while I'm waiting for the brake linings, seeing as we're doing brakes, I will start taking this master cylinder apart and having a look at this. So we've got a master cylinder repair seal kit, so here's all the seals. So all I've done so far is taken that seal off of there, and there's a circlip in here that I've undone and taken that off there. This is all a bit minging. So basically I have to get, I don't know if you can see in there, but that's just solid, pretty much seized solid. I have to take all this apart, so I'm going to take this back off, take it all apart and see what seals are in there. Like I say, I've got the whole master cylinder repair kit in here, so I presume all these seals fit in there, but we'll have a look. So I'll start taking it apart and then I'll get you back in a bit. Okay, so we've got it stripped down. So that's like the piston that sits in there. There's a rubber seal on there. Then you've got in the back, you've got another rubber seal in there, if you can see it. That piston was seized in there, but managed to get it out. So what I'll do now is I'll clean that, clean all this up inside, clean all the outside up, replace the seal in there. There's an O-ring which I'm pretty sure replaces that copper gasket, which just screws on there, spring, and then that. So very, very, very straightforward really. Just operated, obviously oil comes in one of them. When you put your foot on the brake, pushes the piston in, which forces oil out of the other one. And we'll follow that on later with the brake lines. Okay, I'll get all that painted, resealed, re-put it back together, and I'll show you when it's all done. Okay, can you see these bits? Oh yes you can. All painted up, sprayed them yesterday. Black hammerite spray, so all good. New seals are now in here, so basically all it is a case of doing, bolting the various bits together. Include these bits as well that have all been sprayed up, getting it all back together. Yeah, and then I'll put it in the vehicle ready to accept in and out on the back of the oil pipes that we start making up, the brake pipes. So yeah, it's just a case of screwing that on there now and we get it back on the vehicle. So next time you'll see it is when should we say next time is when we start making the brake pipes up. See all the new seal that's been put in there. It did have originally this copper gasket on here, but in the kit comes a rubber seal, so I presume you replace the gasket, the rubber seal, the copper gasket, copper washer with a rubber seal. So that one just goes back on there after I put all the bits on the inside, which are plastic case bit there, and then the spring, and that is it. And that goes in there like that. But I think rather putting that end on, I should put this end on first. That goes in there like so, and then this split pin holds it in place. Okay. Just make sure that it sat in there, which it is. Then we can do that up. Biggish spanner for this. Do that up in a minute. So yeah, there we go, all back together, new seals, and that bit there goes on the end. Can't really see it yet, and attaches. Yeah. So good, all reconditioned, ready to bolt on the vehicle. Next time we'll start making hoses up. Okay. Okay, so there it is. There's the master cylinder all in place where it lives. So you can see the two inlets. Well, that's the inlet from the oil there. So the oil comes in from the reservoir into this part here. When you put your foot on the brake, which is this side, your brake pedal basically hinges here, I'll show you all that later, and pushes this in, which operates the piston, which pushes oil out of here. So oil comes out of here, around these hoses I've just made up, round here into the T-piece, and then that one goes to the front wheel, and that one there, that back one, that goes to the other front wheel across the other side. So these hoses just go along here, put new clamps on, made these hoses up, round, bends round, and then into a flexi, and the flexi goes down to the top caliper. Then I've had to do this pipe that goes around the bottom one. So yeah, that is how the brakes work basically. Here the other side as well, got that new copper that we've clamped on, new clamps all the way along, around here, flexi, and back round as well. You make these look really neat if you spend your time. The copper pipes, like I say, all this looks quite good. And down around there. So the next one I've got to do is to the rear. So obviously that comes from your brake pedal and then out that way, front right, down, front left, and then that one goes to the rear. It's quite a long run of pipe, so it goes along new clamps right the way to the back wheel. So I'll show you how I make up the hoses. I've ordered this one actually. The one that comes from the reservoir to there is a bigger diameter pipe. I'm not quite sure why, maybe to do with the amount of oil or something. So I haven't got any of that pipe, so rather than buying that pipe especially for this, I've just ordered the bit already made up, should be here today, and then we just bolt that one on. So yeah, I'll show you how I make them up. Real simple. You've got the tool here for doing the work. You've got your various fittings here, which I can show you in a bit how we do it. These are the two I'm using at the moment. So yeah, I'll show you this. Still waiting for the brake shoes to turn up, so we'll get on and get this back line made up. Okay, so this is how we make up. This is how I make up brake lines. So first of all, you find your fitting, whichever fitting you need for your caliper or your union or whatever you're using. So you find your fitting, make sure you slide that on there first. The end of the pipe, when you cut it, always ends up a little bit thinner than it should. So I use this sort of Stanley knife as a reaming tool, clean that out. Then we clamp it in our clamp. This is 3/16. So we have to use this. There's two little nodules on here. The bottom nodule is the correct height. So we put it in, put that on there, line that up with the bottom nodule. So that's it, that's where that goes. Tighten this up. So basically you've just got a tiny bit of pipe sticking out. Okay, and then I use this to tighten them up. Oh, that's undoing. Okay, so that's tight. So that's clamped in there nice and tight. Always use a little bit of oil on top. Should use brake fluid, I suppose, but that's fine because it all gets pushed out anyway. 3/16 adapter, stick that in there. Then we get our tool and start the flare. So sit in there nice and square and do this all the way up until it bottoms out, which it has, and then undo it. Whip that off of there, sticks on normally. So that is, I don't know what the technical term is, that's a bubble flare, so I call it. So if you are going into a union that is domed inwards, that's what that would sit in. Butt that up against it, into union, do it up, job done. If you're going into a union like, what I'll show you in a minute. So that's what I call a bubble flare, and then this other one, the next one is basically a double flare. When you flare it again, but you flare it without the adapter, you just flare it with the end of this. So then you just bottom this out again, which then becomes a double flare. And that's a double flare. So you would use this if you were going to go on to something like this, for example, here. So that actually goes on there nicely. That goes on there like that, and your union obviously that you've put on would slip over the top and do up. And as that pinches down, it crushes all the copper against it. This is obviously just a bit of pipe I've used to show you. So the next one, I've done all these here. The next one I do is I'll work from here and work my way back, and just work it all the way, feed it back through the chassis, back to the junction, then, and then the other one back across to the other back wheel. I've done this one this side, all the way around to the T. So yeah, that's how we do the brake lines basically. Next time we'll have a look at the handbrake. We've got the handbrake shoes here now, so we will look at the handbrake shoes, and then that will be it for this video. That's all the brakes on the vehicle done, ready to bleed. So we'll have a look at the handbrake next. Okay, so we're going to do the handbrake shoes now. Showed you before partially. That is, can you see that? Yeah, that's the handbrake lining, which is knackered. And that's the handbrake shoe. There we are. So the lining, so basically it's held on with copper rivets. Go through, you can't get these shoes anymore, you can only seem to buy the linings, which is not a problem. So I've taken that lining off, and then cleaned all the shoe up, and then we've got here's a shoe with the lining still on. So we've got to take the lining off this one now, and then we put new linings on them both, and I'll show you how to do that. So we just take the lining off now. Back to normal speed. So basically we just drill the back of the rivets off, and then knock them through with a hammer, and then the lining just comes off. So that's the old lining shoe. I'm just going to clean the shoe up on the wire wheel now, and then we'll put the new linings on. Okay, so these are the new brake linings. You can see lots of nice material on them, all brand new. And these are copper rivets that hold the brake linings on. So basically, if you did this all the time, you'd have a special tool that held these in place. But I haven't got one because I don't do it all the time. So what we do, we get the brake lining, offer it up against our shoe, all the holes should line up nicely, which they do. Start in the middle, they pop in from that side, through the lining, through the shoe, and then we put the shoe on there. This is where I need an assistant to hold the shoe in place. And then I get this tool that I have made, that we put on top of the rivet. Tap several times, which flares the rivet out. flares the rivet out. Just needs a little bit of adjustment. Let me show you that one. So it sort of flares the, you see, almost, yeah, it just flares the end of the rivet out like an ordinary rivet, really. So just hold it back a moment, mate. One done. Then we have to work our way around doing all the others. Okay, newly lined brake shoe. Well, handbrake shoe. All good. We'll put these on in a minute, show you how to adjust them, and all good. Awkward to film, to be honest, because it's in the on the Land Rover now, on the back of the gearbox. We're down here, so here's the two brake shoes we just relined there and there. Just put them on, the spring in between holds them in place. That's the adjuster that I showed you last time. When you wind the spanner out, it spreads them apart, and that's the mechanism that's attached to the handbrake that we did last time. So that is all that done basically. I just got to put the drum, which is here, stick the drum back over the top of it, adjust them so they're just binding, just off binding. Well, yeah, fair way off binding, this is only a handbrake. Job done. Come back on. So that is it, that is transmission brake, all the brakes done. So yeah, this will only be a short video, but it is just showing you how all the brakes go on and how they work. Obviously onto the back of this transmission brake is the prop. Prop goes to the back axle. So yeah, all good. Let me see if I can turn you around. So yeah, that's the end of this video about the brakes. Hope you liked it, and next video will be about, well, we'll get the bulkhead on next time, get that fitted into position, fuel tank in and start connecting the fuel lines and carburetor etc. So like I say, this is only a short one, but hopefully the sound's working this time as well, so it's a bit of a sound check, and yeah, we'll catch you next time.